We're already farming Shin and Skull. I wonder what other parts of the skeleton we're gonna have to farm. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. Today we're going to talk about who to farm first if you can't farm both of them immediately between Galactic Legend Ahsoka and Baylan Skoll. We have a ton of new information now and a ton of new characters to farm. It is honestly overwhelming. So let's talk about it as soon as I say you. My patrons are awesome. Thank you guys so much for your support, guys. I couldn't do this without you, and truly, it means the world to me, guys. Thank you so much. And folks, if you want to support this channel for free, all you gotta do is hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, comment. Let's mount the algorithm, shall we? We'll do it together. It won't be too bad, probably. Let's get into it, folks. So, look at all the stuff we've got to look at. And I realize Punishing One and the Datacrons Set 17 stuff is not a huge part of the Baylan Skoll and Galactic Legend Ahsoka debate, but they're also things to consider right now, because right now we're being barraged like no other time that I can think of in this game. It is absolutely overwhelming. There are tons of things that I'm just like, I don't even know. I pay a lot on my own account, and I can't get all of this stuff. My littlest account, we're going to talk about what I'm going to be doing on my smallest account, probably tomorrow or the next day, so stay tuned for a video on that. But first, let's talk about Imperial Remnant. It's a really confusing faction, actually, folks. So what we see that in the Enoch kit, they're specifically designed not to go with the other Imperial remnants. If you take him as lead, it's there's a ton of stuff that's like, if everyone's Imperial remnant, but they're also not Empire, and if they're non-droid, poor Dark Trooper, man, every kit is going against him. But basically, Enoch says, I can only have people who aren't in the Empire, because I'm better than you. And why not, man? So this is what we could kind of do right now. They added TIE Fighter pilot to Imperial remnants, which is interesting, but at the end of the day, Dark Trooper is going to go with troopers. At least that's what CG has said all along, and we're still like one character short, and you can't really make even two halfway interesting teams. You kind of have to merge them currently if you want to make them interesting. And so we know that this is unlikely to be the final resting place for Imperial Remnant, though I will add the CG is not afraid of making Imperial Remnant an awkward faction. It's been awkward forever, ever since they added just a couple characters to it. It was like Dark Trooper, or it was just Moff Gideon and Scout Trooper and Death Trooper or something. It was a non-faction even as they created it. So initially I thought we were going to be adding just Baylan and Shin, because it was like, oh hey, we need two more characters for this team, and those two guys did help out the Imperial Remnant, right? Like, on a narrative level, it makes sense. But they just announced that we're going to be getting Marok, whatever his name is, the guy who, when he dies, he's just like, is a puff of gas. It's real awkward, but apparently we're unlocking him. He's a marquee. And they've explained all the other mercenary stuff, and I'm not going to go into detail about it, but essentially, folks, they're all going to be together, and they're going to be with other mercenaries. And it seems like with all the different buff stacking that they're going to be having, it would be foolish to have them just like join other teams. I don't know. We have to see the mechanics, so maybe that's what the actual intent is, but it seems like Baylan and Shin, which I'm glad she was finally announced, are going to be going with Merrick and the whatever other mercenaries, which leaves a really awkward thing. Like, who else goes with them? Like, the obvious answer would be Galactic Legend Thrawn, probably. But that's too much, right? Like, that's way too much to unlock Thrawn is just too much complexity. We already have a ton of other requirements, and so the answer is right now, these 3 Imperial Remnant characters that are new, the zombie dudes, are just kind of okay characters that are on their own. They're like kind of supplementary to the current other characters that we have. But at the end of the day, it's not really its own faction. The zombie remnant faction is just not a faction of its own. So if you want to get Galactic Legend Ahsoka unlocked first, right away, then of course they're going to be a priority. Otherwise, I would say they're fairly low. It's not, yeah, they can do some cool stuff, but is it worth like really rushing these marquees? I don't really think so, if I'm just being honest, folks. Nightsisters are another interesting thing. So first off, did you see the new character models for Acolyte, Initiate, and Talia? They look really nice, actually. Well, Talia, not as nice as, but it's fine. They all look cool. I'm glad they got redone. So yeah, maybe that's our new team. I mean, Spirit would be the other one who might be added to it. But we have the Mamacitas announced, and they basically said that first off they're going to be used as requirements for Baylan Skoll unlock, just like Morgan, and they also said that it's going to be a really good team. You can see it's an elite marquee the way they defined it, and this is all quotations directly from their forum, guys, from their own post. And its power level is closer to a journey guide unit, so it's gonna be really good. It looks like the mamas are gonna be pretty good, and so here you can see we have a special elite marquee event. Ooh, that's fairly fancy, and so yeah, they're gonna be really good, apparently. So if you want to get these girls, like if you want to get Baylan unlocked, they're only for Baylan, they're not required for Ahsoka, then I would say, obviously, high. If you really want to get Baylan, you have to have them. And medium if you just want a decent squad. Now, the other one that I should point out, folks, is they have what they're calling the bespoke Datacron, which is basically the thing that CG says, hey, if you want to have a cool Datacron for a new marquee, like you have to get her all the way to 7 stars, and then you can have this cool Datacron. It's exclusive for 4 months. I don't really have an issue with it. The thing I'll point out here, folks, though, is so they first off, they sounded super disingenuous here. I thought, which I mean, they're a company, that's fine, but it's like we couldn't help ourselves when it comes to Nightsisters. And in reality, they couldn't help themselves when it comes to money. They can help themselves. They totally could help themselves if they wanted to. But they're like, oh, we're so innocent. Hee. It was funny. But if you really want this Datacron, it does look really strong. The thing to keep in mind is you can use it with the ladies and not have Morgan farmed, but if you want to use the full team to its fullest limit, you're gonna want to have both Morgan and the Mamacitas, as we've been calling them, the 3 mothers. You're gonna want all of them. Is it worth it? I don't know. It's like $200-$300 for each character. Now that with the new fancy farming format they have for the marquees, it is cheaper. You can get them to 6 stars and kind of just farm them all the way to completion, so it's cheaper, but it is still a whole ass load of crystals, guys. A whole ton of them. Costs a lot of money, and this Datacron is going to go away. I realize some people can afford it. That's fine. No pressure. I will not personally be doing this because it's not just one character that you need to farm to make that Datacron good. You have to have 2 new good characters. So, just something to keep in mind. Now, as far as Baylan and his mercenaries, we have a lot of mercenaries. We have a whole list of them. You can go find it on the CG forums, and so it looks cool, I guess. So Baylan, Shin, and Merrick are intended to be on their own squad, along with 2 adoptees, basically. And there's no doubt in my mind that Baylan is going to be very strong. I mean, he's going to be one of the new big, what do they call whatever kind of event that Bo-Katan had in Malak. That's the kind. I'm totally spacing on what it's called. Hold on. Epic confrontation. So he's gonna be really good, folks. There's no doubt in my mind. By the way, start hoarding some Omicrons, guys. We're gonna need them. There's gonna be a lot that we need. The question is he going to be worth the price versus going for GL Ahsoka? He's going to cost at least 4 new marquees to unlock, which was how much it cost for Galactic Legend Leia, just for reference. I think it was 4. She required a lot. He's requiring 4 new marquees because they haven't told us the kits yet, but they have announced that Shin and Merrick are going to be here. So he costs 4 on his own, and then of course he's going to cost whatever gear and everything it costs to get him up as well. So it's a full squad you're going to be farming, but you do get 2 functional squads out of it. So as far as Galactic Legend Ahsoka and her team, we don't know too much, actually. I know that like, yes, they keep announcing new things in it, but there's nothing concrete about some of this stuff. But we finally, when we got the Ezra kit, I was looking at it today, and there's a few things you can kind of extrapolate. Well, first off, we know that for sure he's intended to be her lifter. Now, it's going to, there's a big question mark on, of course, Maul, when he came out, he's explicitly Lord Vader's lifter, despite the fact that he intended to ambush and kill Vader, Anakin. It's funny. He's like, yeah, I'll be your lifter. That's fine. But anyways, Maul can go with Lord Vader, or he can go with like 3 other teams. He is extremely versatile, and that's constantly like, oh man, I wish I could just use him somewhere else. But maybe Ezra will be like that, maybe he won't, who knows, but that's their intention, is that he will be the lifter for Ahsoka. Now, the other thing that we also have like a very, very loose release date for Ahsoka. We don't have one for Baylan. Like my assumption is that he'll be like the December big unlock character, just like Starkiller, Afra, and Bo-Katan. My guess is that that's what Baylan Skoll will be. Like he'll be like a late December unlock, but who knows. Ahsoka, we know for sure she's not going to be out until at least November 11th, which I counted, and I didn't double check, so maybe I'm slightly off, but I think that's when we're unlocking Ezra. I think that's when people who get Red Crate 3 times in Conquest unlock Ezra. So we have at least until November 11th of this year, which, I mean, I know that's not a ton of time, but it's 2 more months at least. So, CG's never been kind enough to let us be all the way prepared for a Galactic Legend. I don't think that that's going to be the case this time either. I think that they're going to be releasing more stuff. Will they be releasing more marquee stuff? How dare CG if they do that? Look at all these. So for this whole release calendar schedule that they've been doing lately, folks. So they have the Imperial remnant, they have the 2 Nightsisters, so that's 5 marquees, and then they're gonna have Shin and Marok. And then, of course, they're not exactly marquees, but we have to gear them and have resources like Zetas and Omicrons and even Omegas. I'm still short on that on my small account. And for Baylan and Ezra, and not to mention if we want to unlock Ahsoka herself, we have like the Galactic Legends require an enormous amount of resources. It's a whole lot, folks. It's a ton, but it's like, okay, well, if this is it, we can maybe make it work, right? I mean, it's over the course of how many months, we can do this. However, I think there's more, because first off, we have the Spectre call sign. And I don't expect her to require like 3 more marquees, I don't think, but maybe. I'm pretty sure we're going to have more, though, because in Ezra's kit, I was looking at it today, and maybe someone can tell me if I'm wrong, if I misread it. I didn't cross-check this with anyone, but when I was reading it, there's a ton of rules for what happens to him when he comes out of exile. He gets exiled, and then he comes out of exile, he gets buffed. There's a ton of rules in there about what happens to other characters on his team, on Ezra's team, when they're also exiled, but there's no mechanics involved on him putting other characters into exile. Now, maybe that's something Galactic Legend Ahsoka does. That's kind of a weird thing if she does, but that's fine if she does. Maybe that's it. But to me, it seems like there's going to be other characters who have exiled just text in their mechanics in their kit. I think that's the case. And if I had to guess, I don't know why we wouldn't get a Sabine character, folks. Honestly, not that we could debate forever whether Ahsoka should be a Galactic Legend or not. We can debate that. I'm not going to get into that right now. The fact is, she is going to be a Galactic Legend in the game. If she is, I don't see how we don't get Sabine. I think we could forget Hu Yang if we wanted to, the annoying droid that's been around for 10 million years or whatever. That's fine if we don't get him, but I don't know how we wouldn't get Sabine. She's totally different in the live action show than in Rebels. It's like a decade later. I don't see how we don't get one. So my guess would be Sabine and Hu Yang if we're going to get more marquees. And so which one to farm at the end of the day? Which conclusion? So with Galactic Legend Ahsoka, you get a Galactic Legend. That's an end game amazing, guaranteed to be good forever character. And it's hard to say no to a Galactic Legend. She is very expensive, but the requirements right now for her, it's like you need first off, you need relic 9s on a couple of characters, which is fine. They're good characters, but yeah, she's the first Galactic Legend specifically to require relic 9, and we still only know half of her requirements. Imperial Remnant aren't really a faction. Like I said before, the zombie Remnant guys are just not a faction right now. Yes, they enhance the already existing Imperial Remnant faction, but it's an okay faction. It's fine. It's good in, different game modes. It's really good sometimes, but maybe not chasing just for its own sake. And she's going to cost probably 5 marquees. That's my guess. And all she'll get is one really good team, her Galactic Legend team, and then the weird Imperial Remnant team. And then she'll join the Journey Guide immediately as a Galactic Legend, so you will be able to farm her and get her whenever. Baylan Skoll, you're going to get 2 functional teams because the Nightsisters go with the 2 new Nightsisters are going to go with 3 old ones, and those ones, even if you don't have them farmed and geared, they don't require any good gear. It's all of the Chirotech and stuff. They were out before Chirotech existed, so you can farm them, and it's a relatively cheap squad. And the Baylan Skoll team seems like it's also going to be good, and you can supplement the Baylan Skoll team with 2 other pretty older characters as well, depending on what mercenaries are going to be good. But we don't know when the Journey Guide is going to when he's going to join the Journey Guide, like a year after his release, but we don't know when his farming schedule is. If it's a Grand Inquisitor, we might have to wait a full 6 months before we get him again. So I would almost lean toward getting Baylan, folks. I know he's not as guaranteed to be amazing as Ahsoka. I do think that it looks pretty good, and you're getting more bang for your buck in terms of the teams that you're getting. Of course, we don't know this for sure. I don't know what the relative power levels are going to be. I don't know how tough the farms are going to be or when these things are going to be released, but it's worth looking at. I mean, both of them look good. I'm kind of leaning toward the one where I get 2 fully functional, pretty strong teams. That's what I'm looking at, guys. As far as the punishing one goes, we're not going to dwell on this too long. This is Dengar's ship. It's been rumored for like 20 years or something. But seriously, we've been wanting it for a long time, and it's like, oh, it's gonna make Executor stronger against everything except for the Leviathan, which is fine. It's going to contribute to the meta, folks. So I would say if you're caught up on fleets, this is going to be a pretty big priority. I would recommend having 6,000 crystals saved up so that you can do the chase and get it unlocked at 7 stars immediately. You should already have Dengar relic for other Galactic Legend requirements, or you will eventually. As far as Datacron 17, set 17, if you don't have them geared already, folks, there's 4 that I would just recommend you farm. You can see the list there. No pressure. I just thought I'd do a PSA. Anyways, folks, that's it for today. Lots to talk about, of course. I'm going to be talking about my alt, and my plans for that account is probably tomorrow or the next day, so stay tuned for that, trying to figure out what to do with fleets and all kinds of things. But, guys, I'm calling it today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you're planning to farm and work on in this crazy, just stressful almost time period of all the characters being released. Thank you all so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails. And I hope you do too, folks. Take care.